You might ask, why compare the new Jeep Renegade and the Fiat 500x compact crossover? After all, they look completely different, bring entirely unique personalities to the table, and aren't at all likely to appeal to the same customer, right? Well, it might surprise some to know that these two compact utilities fall from the very same tree. They're built by the same parent company, roll off the same assembly line in Italy, and use identical chassis architecture and powertrains underneath. Thus, while they have characters all their own, they're identical twins under the skin. But remarkably, while you can find similarities, there are a great deal of differences when you begin comparing the two. First, there's the styling. The Renegade does its best to bring Jeep's broad shoulders and butch off-road gravitas down to a compact car-sized silhouette. A trademark upright Jeep grille with round headlights is brash right up front, and it must be noted that the Renegade is some 3 inches taller than the 500X. While some argue that it's not Jeep's best attempt at marrying the two opposite worlds, there are several Jeep overtones throughout. A good bar napkin game might be to count how many Jeep logos can be found both inside and out. After all, they're literally everywhere to be seen. The Fiat 500x, on the other hand, takes the playful and cheeky style of their much smaller 500 hatchback model and scales it up into the larger crossover that it is. Like the Renegade, the 500x is washed with styling details that accentuate the brand's image. Different is its more car-like silhouette, which has a less upright rear roofline and, as mentioned, a lower overall height. This keeps its style more in keeping with the brand's other icon model, but does cut into its utility. Both vehicles, however, line their lower bodies with black plastic cladding, which seems to be a basic requirement these days for the crossover class. After all, if you plan to go trekking or trailing with either, you don't want your soft underbelly getting rashed up. Inside, these vehicles share an identical seating position and relationship to their steering wheels, but their interiors share little more than a similar steering wheel design and a few elements of switchgear. The Fiat 500x's dash seems to be lifted right out of the 500 with some playful and quirky design that makes it fun and somewhat retro. A body-colored slab across and simple forms make it not only cute, but easy to live in. Jeep, on the other hand, created something entirely new with its design, which has a more rugged and hiking boot feel. Jeep logos and thematic details won't be forgotten here, as there are many both in plain sight and hidden throughout. Both offer cloth seating at base models, but can be had with leather at the top end. A large panoramic sunroof can be optioned in the 500x, where the Jeep offers removable roof panels for a more outdoorsy way of letting nature in. When it comes to passenger space, the two are virtually identical when it comes to leg and shoulder room as well as general comfort. Headroom is slightly less in the 500x due to its lower roofline, but it's still tall enough that you're not likely to notice it. Cargo volume is where the largest differences lie. Due to its lower and raked roofline, the 500x has only 32 cubic feet of cargo volume. In the tall boxy Renegade, you get the same semi-flat low floor as the 500x, but its shape affords nearly 50 cubic feet of rear cargo. Under the hood of both, you can have the same 1.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine sourced from Fiat, good for 160 horsepower, coming only with a 6-speed manual transmission. Alternatively, you can get in both a 180 horsepower 2.4-liter Chrysler-sourced 4-cylinder mated with a 9-speed automatic. In the Fiat 500x, you can only get the 1.4-liter turbo and manual in the base model pop. All other trim grades up the scale mandate the 2.4-liter and 9-speed automatic. In the Jeep, on the other hand, you can have either engine up into the higher trims until you get to the Trailhawk or Limited. Which leads us to off-road capability. While both are termed crossovers, there are important differences between the two when it comes to off-roading. While both can be optioned with all-wheel drive, the Jeep offers additional chassis bits that make it more robust. When you step up into all-wheel drive with the Renegade, it gets heavier-duty front-lower control arms for the suspension. This makes off-pavement treks a bit less jarring and likely plays better into longevity. Additionally, the Renegade offers the Trailhawk version, which gets additional off-road hardware like skid plates and a full-time all-wheel drive system with low range for crawling rougher terrain. The 500x doesn't offer any of this, even in its top models. What the 500x has, which the Renegade doesn't when it comes to driving and chassis, is the console-mounted drive mode selector, which has different steering, transmission, and throttle mapping for sport, normal, and traction plus modes. The Renegade offers a similar mode selector, but only with 4x4 models known as Select Terrain. After our lengthy test drives in both models, we give the on-pavement handling edge to the Fiat 500x, which has a sporting personality and character both due to its lower profile and therefore less top-heavy mass, in addition to its drive mode that works well in sport for spirited jaunts. The Jeep is expected gets the nod for being the true trailblazer off the tarmac, particularly when optioned with all-wheel drive and its more robust suspension components, as well as its available full-time four-wheel drive system. In any case, we have to hand it to Fiat Chrysler Automobiles for offering up two distinct products based on the very same bones. From the parking lot and even from first blush behind the wheel, you'd never know these two were born of the same parents. To see our individual test drives of each, click on the links below down in the information section. I'm Sam Haymart for Test Driven TV. I hope you enjoyed the ride.